Tell me about your vision.
My vision is for everyone to be more productive, to spend their time on what matters most. There's a lot of time management books out there that'll tell you how to do that. My unique niche is I actually measure how people spend their time and what successful people do. I invented a small electronic device for those who are watching. You can see the time quarter device here. We program that with different activities, lend those out to employees and entrepreneurs who use that to track their time. It's better than an app. And then I analyze the results and show people how they can achieve their vision of spending their time on what matters most.
Mark, tell me more about that.
So the time quarter device works like a series of stopwatches. Only one of them can be on at a time, kind of like a chess clock, but in reverse. Chess clocks, the time goes down to zero. The time keeps adding up. A series of stopwatches. So every time you begin a different activity, you just press one button and it tracks your time on that activity. Gives you instant feedback, better than an app because it's tracking the things you're doing on your smartphone or whatever. It lasts longer. It's always on, at least during the workday. So it's a handy device to get some really good data about where successful people are spending their time.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. So, how did you get started on all this? Like, why this device, and what's the story behind why you do what you do?
Well, I got two stories. The first one is being a paper boy way, way back and having to deliver papers as fast as possible. So, for instance, on the weekend, we had a magazine and the newspapers. The two had to go together. I figured out the fastest way to put them together. I invested in technology. I bought a wagon to drag the papers around. I split the route up. So instead of collecting from customers every week, I went to some on weeks 1 and 3 and the others on weeks 2 and 4. So that saved me time. So I guess as a young kid, I was always thinking about productivity. Years later, working in a corporate environment, because I did, everyone was late for meetings. And I thought, oh man, yeah, we're spending a lot of time waiting. You know, if you add up your time and his and hers, and we have a little device, or you could measure different things. And so there was a kind of an aha moment there about visualizing what a time quarter device might be. We all have those aha moments. The difference is I actually went ahead and produced prototypes and then working models and so forth of the device. Whereas a lot of people say, I thought of this idea. You got to go ahead with that idea. I did.
Tell me more. Tell me more. This is very, very interesting and intriguing.
Well, again, it's that aha moment of creating a little device, but I'm not an engineer. I'm not a programmer. So I had to find people to do that for me. The first guy, I didn't do too well. I got it to add up to 10, maybe. And then I was talking to a guy at a networking meeting. He said, oh, I'm an engineer. I could do that. So he produced a couple of prototypes for me. Then I tested those with a bookkeeper. She said, Mark, this is really great. The problem was, though, the product turned out to be the world's most popular product that everyone thought someone else should buy. I went to lawyers who are tracking their time and they said, well, maybe not for us. Talk to the accountants. And accountants, I had them on national TV. I was on TV and they tried it. They said, this is going to work really well for independent consultants. I went to those people and they said, have you talked to the lawyers? Everybody thought someone else. So I had to pivot. And instead of selling the device for a couple of $100, I'd lend the devices out for about $1,200. So I'm not using up my inventory. I had to pivot from selling to, to creating a service, conducting these time studies. And that turned out to be much more profitable.
That makes a lot more sense. So, how was that journey like pivoting from selling a product to selling a service now?
Well, no one knows what that service is. People don't stand around at cocktail parties saying, hey, do you know a guy who can do a time study? So early on, it was tough. I had some PR because being an inventor, I guess I'm an inventor. I got some media coverage for that, and the media loves inventors. Well, they like serial killers too. But anyway, so I got some press coverage, and people would come to me and say, "Oh, we need to do one of those studies." But there's a huge hurdle, and it still exists today. Is everyone thinks their employees aren't going to like doing this? And during COVID, there were all these employee monitoring systems. They didn't go over well. So mine is fun. People like it. It gives instant feedback. But I realized the thing that I had to do was reassure all of the participants and tell my clients that the data was always anonymous. I never use individuals' names in my reports back to clients. And that made the difference because it reassured the people, okay, well, he's not going to use my name. I'll be really honest with how I spend my time. So we got lots of detailed, honest data and a participation rate of 94%. That's unheard of. If you give out, employee surveys, you're not going to get to 94%. We do with this. And we're asking people to track their time for a couple of weeks. And it's fun. It's easy to use, gives feedback. So that was the key is figuring out that it had to be anonymous. But I always still get people going, are our employees going to be honest with that? So I have to anticipate that objection and kind of head it off at the pass every time.
Mark, how would so I have this stopwatch, right? I got it on Amazon for like a few bucks.
Yep.
How is me tracking my time using this different than what you do with your device?
That's a useful tool, and that's going to be, very valuable to you or to other people who want to get one of those. The time quarter is measuring a whole bunch of different activities. So as you switch from one to the other, from a sales call to a meeting to travel to paperwork, it's easier to switch back and forth when you're looking at multiple different activities. We measure 25 to 50 different activities for most people. The other is I have a methodology for setting these studies up. I have a database. I can analyze the results. So I'm not just selling the device or renting it out, but there's a whole methodology and expertise behind that. That's what I own. I own three things: some devices, the database, and a methodology. So you could use, your device, but you're not going to have access to my methodology or to that huge database of comparative information. You got to figure out what you own, and that's what I own.
Thank you for sharing that. Um, what would you say that um, is your goal for being on the show today, Mark?
Just to spread the word. I'm not selling a course or anything like that. One of the things I did was some research on how men versus women spend their time differently at work, and I concluded that women are actually better at managing their time than men. So one of my goals is to spread the word about that. That women spend fewer hours at work, that they spend a greater percentage of time on their top priority activities, they get things done faster, and they're closer to their ideals. On those four different measures, which I've looked at in great detail, women are better, and so at managing their time. So that's my goal, is to spread the word about that. And if somebody hires me to do a time study, that's all nice as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Um, what would you say that um, going through all this process and help employees go through all this processes helps you help them?
So ask that again. How? Give that to
What
me
would
again.
you say that you going through this process and the employees that go through this process, right? What has what has some of the result has come out of these studies and these methods?
Well, the results, sure. The biggest finding is that people are spending fewer hours than they would like on their top priority activities and more on their lower priority administrative activities. Look, I started way, way back before some people had voicemail, certainly before the internet and laptops and smartphones and so on. And what we've seen with each new technology, I joke that we keep inventing more and more ways to be out of touch with each other. But with each technology, it brings all kinds of great benefits, but unanticipated side effects and spin-offs. So when people say, "Oh, AI is going to be great," well, yeah, but there's some problems with it as well in terms of people not using it well. And here's one example: email. Email didn't exist when I was an employee. It has had some terrific benefits for keeping us in touch. However, there's a lot of misuse of email. I've measured that. So for people who measured an activity called unnecessary email, it's a huge 3.4 hours per week. So sure, email has benefits, but if we're spending 3.4 hours per week on unnecessary email, that's a big drag. And those kinds of non-value added activities will always be there. Smart people, smart entrepreneurs and managers and owners find ways to minimize that administrative time and spend it on what matters most.
That's definitely a good insight, I would say, because if you look at our emails right now, like 90% of them already is actually spam, right? In not even the work emails, talking about the private emails, but if you go on the work, I would say quite a bit of also comes someone trying to sell you something, or someone's trying to um, just giving you some information that's not needed or necessary at that time. And yes, a lot of time does go into reading through this, going through this, and replying to it. Maybe replying to your attention, your time. So that's a very good discovery, Mark, I would
There,
say.
there's misuse amongst legitimate use as well. People going on for too long, copying too many people. You know, if you send one email, but you've copied 15 people, you've sent 15 emails. There's no evil troll down in the basement who's sending all these emails all over the place. It's us. We all need to take responsibility. Sometimes in my workshops, time management or productivity workshops, I do a quick survey. I say, how many bad drivers are out there? And yeah, hands go up. And if you ask any typical crowd, you'll find that the number of bad drivers, however they define it, is about 33%, about a third. Then you say, would all the bad drivers please stand up? And like 1 out of 100 people do. People attribute bad behavior to others, but not to themselves. Same with email. Oh, it's everyone sending out all this junk email or this badly written stuff. It's us. So we all need to take responsibility. That's the first step. And then in emails, for instance, to be very clear, to be very precise, and to use the right medium. Don't use an email when picking up the phone or having a meeting. Might be a better way to resolve a problem.
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.